with the device they have now.
Really?
They're
Yeah.
they're they're making their phone last longer because we've gotten up to speed on things just working. That the new bells and whistles on the new technology don't necessarily make it so enticing to get a new one.
Yeah, and if you're just now joining us, I went ahead and hit the start broadcast button here because we're kind of talking about techie stuff and changes in technology, really. And Brad, as we were kind of the whole conversation started actually because we were looking at Brad's background and how Brad is definitely an Apple family. He's got his iMac, his iPad, his Mac Air. Talking to Jonathan about he kind of hijacked his wife's computer and then me, I have a
I didn't
PC.
hijack his wife's computer; he hijacked it. But
Oh, did I get the names mixed up?
no, no, no. I thought you said that Brad hijacked Jonathan's wife's computer.
Oh, I could have. I don't know, old age. Well, so I bought actually the computer that I bought that I have right now. I was always anti against water cooled. I just thought the whole idea of running water through your computer system to keep it cool. Water and computers just don't seem to mix well. But finally, I branched out and bought one, and this guy's a beast. It's an HP NV Phoenix. It's up there. I don't know. It's bright red. I need to clean it. But it does a good job. But then again, I'd probably only utilize. I mean, how much do we really utilize our computers to the max potential? I mean, you look at those weather computers that we have in the weather center where we run those HPs, and I mean those things do a lot, and they're still running pretty cool.
Yeah, they're those are workstations like crazy. You know what I'm excited about, and I'll plug this real quick because it does have some application when it comes to broadcasting and our viewers. Um, Hopefully, this is public information. I think Hearst did release this. They're partnering with Hearst is partnering with who owns KOCO. For those of you listening, it's partnering with Cox Media. Um, Oh, who else? Got Gannett, big company, Gannett Broadcasting, and a couple other media companies. This fall, they're launching TV over the web, and so our news will be completely free, streaming on all platforms, and not just ours, but we'll be able to watch any other TV station in those groups because they're all work together and all of it's supposed to be completely free. So that's been my biggest concern is everybody's switching to streaming devices, Roku's, Chromecast, Apple TVs. Our newscast isn't there, but it's coming
Hmm.
soon. I think this fall they said. So that's good. That's good for our industry.
There's been a lot of people when they talk about the future of news and where it's headed, and I remember when I was interning down at WTKR in Norfolk, and this was back in the late '90s, and the internet had just started coming out. Everyone said, "Oh, the internet's going to kill television," and TV news has always done a great job of actually staying ahead of the technology that's coming out. So, if you look at just how many people, especially in Oklahoma, that actually watch local news, it is unbelievable. I mean, the percentage of population. When I talk to other TV markets and I tell them, what our ratings are, and especially during weather situations, I mean, it's really unreal. I mean, especially when it comes to weather, big time weather events, you could probably have more people watching local news than people watching the Super Bowl
It looks
without
like the
question.
Super Bowl. You look, we get the ratings every day, as you guys know, and I mean, weather coverage. More people watch it than Thunder games.
Hmm. Without a
I mean,
doubt.
it's crazy.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So, hey, some big news that I kind of actually want to touch base on because I feel like in the science community, it's getting some traction, and it's actually great. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Let me pop it up. I want to talk a little bit about, let me do a screen share. I want to talk a little bit. No, this is not going to work out, is it? Here we go. Okay. You know this was coming, guys. You know this was coming. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Pluto.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Okay.
talk about Pluto for a little bit. I had to put that out there. I don't think. I mean, this generation being able to get these images of Pluto. Jonathan and I actually talked a lot about it yesterday because he was calculating the numbers of just how fast, the spacecraft that was going by Pluto, how fast it was going. But these pictures that are coming in of Pluto really are pretty fascinating. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty hooked on this. All of these new images coming in. Do you remember back in the day when we used to have a pixelated image of Pluto? Do y'all remember that? And now we're getting these high-resolution images. High resolution for today. Now, probably 20 years from now, we'll get something even better. But this really is something. This really is something. Chime in. What are y'all's thoughts?
People have been seeing a little bit of everything when it comes to Pluto, and So is it a planet or isn't? Why did we ever? Okay, when we were in, this is the debate. I think yes, the pictures are stunning, but it's turned into a debate because when we went to school, 20, 30 years ago, we have 9 planets. Pluto was the farthest from the sun in our solar system. Somewhere along the line, it's no longer a planet anymore. Now we get out there, we see Pluto. It's bigger than we thought. It looks like a planet. Is it not? Why did we drop it from being a planet anyway?
I read about this yesterday, and there's three things a planet has to be a planet, and I'll read this right offline. The object must be in orbit around the sun. Check. Pluto. The object must be massive enough to be rounded by its own gravity. Check. Here's what it doesn't do. It must have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit. I really don't know what that means, but I do know it's considered a double dwarf planet because the moon that's by it, instead of the moon going around it like this, they do this. And
they rotate each other.
Yeah, okay. Well, and the center of the orbit is not around the planet. For example, the center of the orbit of our moon is around the Earth, right? Well, these two are kind of rotating, but they're not really rotating around, if I can do this right. They're rotating around a point that's not centered to Pluto.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how to do this. Here's Pluto, here's it, but they're rotating around a point in the center, around each other. That's why. But, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
I mean, the duck.
I think a lot of people it's science. Can you vote on science? You can't vote on science, and that's what happened. There was a committee, and they voted. It's like, what? I don't know. I just remember that acronym for remembering. You remember your kid?
My very excellent mother just served up 9 planets.
Oh, my very excellent mother just sold us 9 pizzas. So, what? So you got to have the P in there. But anyways, I think it's cool. Damon and I were talking yesterday, and I tried to do the math, but relative to the sun, our sun, the average speed of New Horizons is like, I thought it was like about 50,000 miles an hour. My math was off. It's like 36,000 miles an hour, which is still going, Mach 40? It still took 9.5 years to go 3 billion miles. So that's pretty cool. I mean, the question is, I don't know. When are we going to start doing more space exploration? I'm a byproduct of Star Trek and Star Wars, and oh, by the way, tangent. That my favorite image is. Do you see that one picture of Pluto, and it says there's concerns about new images of Pluto coming in, and it looks like the Death Star?
Yeah,
that was hilarious. I was rolling.
Here's the crazy thing about it, though. I mean, if you think about it, we were able to get communication with a satellite that's over 3 billion miles away back to the Earth. Which, by the way, I don't ever want to hear us having an issue with getting a live shot set up from Mathis Brothers Furniture. Because if we can get a satellite, if we can get communication from that far away. But here's the crazy thing, is that now that we're passing Pluto, what if at some point we're able to tap in again and we get a picture of another planet out there that we had no idea about that might even sustain life? I mean, is it possible? This is a big deal, I'm telling you, that we can set up communication with a planet.
How far away is the closest planet outside of our solar system, though? Isn't it? I mean, we've already traveled 3 billion miles, and that took 9 years.
So they think there's planets around Alpha Centauri, and that's our closest star. Then that would therefore be our closest planet outside of our solar system.
And I think that is light years away, right?
4 light years.
I mean, could you imagine though, like us getting a picture of like an alien, just like all of a sudden, like it downloads. It's like, hey, what is this right here?
Damon.
But Damon, you were talking about how does it communicate? It's X-band. I was like, what type of radio frequency? And it says it's X-band at a communication rate of 38 kilobytes per second at Jupiter. But once it gets out to Pluto, it's only 1 kilobyte per second. But how does that work? I mean, it's concentrated, let's say, at the beam of the antenna dish, right? Mm-hmm. It's let's say a half degree. How wide is that beam going to be at 3 billion miles? It would be literally hundreds of thousands of miles wide.
Well, and that's probably why, I mean, this used to be what we had of Pluto. I posted this yesterday, and now this is what we have. I mean, I knew it was more than just pixels, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So
I did the calculation yesterday too. We're talking about getting that signal back. I calculated that it would take light, the speed of light, 4.5 hours to travel that distance. So, it's 8 light minutes. It takes light 8 minutes to travel from the sun to Earth, but 4.5 hours to go from Pluto to Earth. So, I mean, that just puts in the scale how far away that is.
Yeah, which I really like to see the other pictures. I mean, I know we make a big deal about Pluto, but how about Neptune? What about all these other planets that?
It took pictures of other planets on the way out, didn't it?
I'm pretty sure it did.
It did Jupiter, and also the orbit of Pluto is really weird. Pluto is very elliptical, long. It takes like 200 and some American Earth years, 200 some Earth years to make one full revolution around the sun.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to see I want to see just how dense the asteroid belt is when it goes through. I mean, is it really as dense, or are we talking like one asteroid and then like millions of miles away there's another? I don't know. So anyways, I thought it was cool. Did you all happen to catch the conference last night? NASA. I was on NASA.gov, which I think actually so many people actually tuned in at one point to watch their conference of it phoning home at about 9:30 with some more images, but it looked pretty cool. Eventually, NASA.gov kind of shut down a little bit. So, anyways, is it hot enough for y'all?
You say what's next for space exploration?
I knew you were gonna get it.
Yeah, I got it. We've canceled the shuttle program. Mm-hmm. We're going with third-party vendors now. SpaceX has been kind of our next big hope. The Elon Musk SpaceX, their last 2 launches with their Falcon rockets have blown up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how discouraging is that? It's what is the future? When we were kids, we wanted to be astronauts when we grew up, or meteorologists. Kids aren't wanting to be astronauts anymore because you don't get to go anywhere.
Yeah. It used to be, if did you ever watch, those space movies, and, astronauts were rock stars, back in the 60s. And 70s, and they'd have parades for them, through their streets of their hometown. And now, I mean, Mark Kelly seems to kind of be the most popular astronaut, but I mean, they're not the rock stars that they used to be back in the 60s. And of course, back in the 60s, you had the whole space race going on between United States and USSR, and who was going to be the first to the moon, and but it kind of gives hope maybe for our children, next generation. We can sit down with them and be like, I remember when we weren't going to the moon, we weren't going to space anymore because they had some changes, and so it'll be cool and fun to see where it goes in the next decade.
Well, according to some people on my Facebook page, we never landed on the moon.
It's all hand puppets. You can see the strings, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
They made movies about that. Wasn't O.J. Simpson in one of those movies?
Was he? What movie?
Yeah, there was a movie. What is it? I'd have to look it up. They simulated going to the moon, and they did it all in the studio, and the government was trying to kill them. And I think one of the astronauts was O.J. Simpson. I have to Google it.
I'll have to, I'm horrible with movies, by the way. When it comes to movies, I'm the last to see the movies. So, hey, let's switch gears right now, by the way, because I think this is actually pretty cool, and I want to talk about it because I think we have just reinvented the heat index map, and I think you guys might know what I'm talking about. So the Oklahoma Mesonet is now doing the wet bulb globe temperature. This right here. This basic, I mean, I don't know how we can simplify this for on-air use, but anyone that's watching, basically what they have done now is we have been able to calculate a number of variables from wind speed, humidity, temperature, solar radiation, how much, clouds in the sky and whether it's a completely sunny day, and then come up with basically a calculation, a risk category, that says, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be outside right now. It used to be that we just popped up the heat index number and, said, oh, here's the temperature and here's the heat index, and now we have this right here. This is pretty cool. Brad, Jonathan, have y'all had a chance to really study this?
I like it. We got to come up with a better name. Wet bulb globe temperature risk. That might be great in the military. Some Air Force weather officers giving a briefing, and well, today the wet bulb globe temperature risk is going to be, whatever. Come up with a better name. So, what, the enhanced heat index? What the?
Yeah.
You got the.
Everything's enhanced.
Well, my question too is, as you pop that up, do we need to go with marginal, slight, enhance?
Low, moderate, high, extreme, that, yeah. But this is cool. This is something we got to watch. Basically, so here it is now, right now, 12. This was taken at 12:10, which I don't know. I've looked for this on the app, and so I haven't found this yet uploaded to the app, but it's on their website.
I think it might confuse some people, too. I think they might look and say, oh, it's only 87 outside.
Yeah, so this is actually, the scale is actually permanent. But the colors, to say green 85, 87 is a low risk, but it's pretty cool. I mean, right now, basically, anyone that's outdoors, the highest risk right now is going to be up in northeastern Oklahoma. It's probably all that humidity, I imagine. Probably a lot of humidity.
And this is solely, that essentially is the wet bulb, right?
Oh,
the wet bulb temperature.
Probably wet bulb, yeah. I just, what, I got to pull it back up now, so I got to. So let's pull up here is the risk categories based on the guidelines coming in out of Tulsa, which will kind of give you an understanding more so as to what each number means. Let me do a screen share with this. And here we go. I know sometimes it's probably hard to read this once you go back on YouTube and watch it, but basically, numbers over 90, that would essentially, they're saying take at least 45 minutes of breaks each hour. So basically, you're just working for 15 minutes and then take 45 minutes.
Yeah. That's about how I mow my grass usually.
Take
9 hours to do.
Yeah, I'm about to say you might do like three swipes on the yard and then you're done. That's interesting. That's funny. So last week, by the way, I was getting a little nervous after we made our bets last week about when Oklahoma City is going to have its first 100-degree day. So we started creeping up there, and at least today's actually pretty nice. Check this out, by the way. How's this? Let me do another screen share on this one. Anyone want to go out to Guyman, Boise City, Kenton? 81, 82 degrees has been the max today.
Wow.
88 out west. I mean, this is a big improvement. Poor Buffalo. Buffalo was 108 degrees on Monday. 96.
What are the dews like there? I think the dew points have come down a little bit. That 82 looks nice. What's maybe a 60-degree dew point?
Yeah, it's about 63. One thing we may need, I want to check in on now, is Enid. Enid's observations in the afternoon have been sky high. I'm kind of watching a trend lately.
So is that because they cut the wheat? And
Could where's that observation? Is that over at Woodring?
no, there's well, you can pick which one you want. I think we have Vance loaded in our WSI computer, and Woodring isn't as good, so I think we use Vance. But I wouldn't be surprised if bad placement overall. I mean, that's the wheat belt. You can see a local maximum in heat from Kingfisher up to the Breckenridge Mesonet site. They just cut the wheat. The ground is brown, absorbs more heat. Happens every year. You know, and the wheat harvest was later this year because it was so wet.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I've always noticed that every year that I've worked here, I've seen that happen. It's like, boom, they cut the wheat, boom, it gets a little bit hotter, not just because of the heat dome, but because you're actually not weather modification, but you're changing the albedo. You're basically producing a gigantic urban heat island, but not with buildings, but with brown soil or red soil, but versus what? Tan or green wheat. So
Interesting.
Hey, by the way, I got a name for that index.
Oh, what do you have?
It's the OHDI index, or the OHDI, the OHDI, the Outside Honeydew Index. And the guys can go, sorry, honey, I can't do your honeydews because the OHDI is at a extreme today. So I guess I got to stay inside.
I like it. When you said honeydew, I was thinking of melons, by the way. I was like, get some melons in here. By the way, so yesterday's heat indices, which, by the way, what do you like? What do you like to say? Heat indices or heat indexes?
Indices.
Indices.
The heat index, plurals, indices, but
I hear it both, and it's kind of one of those. I think could
it be similar with vortex and vortices though? You know, you're not supposed to say multiple vortices. It's multiple vortex. I don't know.
I don't know. You can have multiple. I don't know. It's one of those. There's always an English teacher out there that's going to get us on it. It usually sends us an email on it. But yeah. So yesterday's wind chill. Let's just call it wind chill because it has been a little windy out there lately. Poor Stillwater. 115. That's just
so does the wind? It has been a little bit breezy. Does the wind bring down the heat index?
Yes. You mean the outside honeydew index, or do you mean the wet bulb global temperature risk map?
We'll bring that one down. We need to call WSI and try to find a way in which they can start posting that stuff on there because I like it.
I'm sure they can. It's taken a year to get it in there.
Yeah.
I don't know why we
Damon, tell us about your show that you recorded. You went to Minnesota this past weekend. The film. The name of the show is Win, Lose, or Draw.
No, so this was actually, it was called In an Instant, and actually they were filming multiple shows up there this past weekend. You know, it's a series that will air right now the show airs every Saturday, right before the newscast on KOCO5. So I was up there, they were filming the Moore tornado, and they're also filming a story. Do y'all remember the Texas A&M bonfire incident back in '99? Jonathan, you're shaking your head yes. Oh, yeah. Brad, do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. So they were filming that. So I got up there and basically very nice setup. You know, it took about an hour and a half to kind of tell the story in which we walked through leading up to the day of what was happening in the studio, what the recovery was like. It was a good show. Right now it's projected to air March of 2016, so it's going to take a little while. They're actually working on another story, which is pretty cool. You know, since they do it every single week, there was a lady in Moab who had gone out hiking with her dog, and she ended up falling off of a cliff and broke her ankle. She was one of those, like, you have a marathoner, and then you have, like, I guess, like an extreme marathoner where they, like,
It's called an ultra marathoner.
Ultra. There you go. Yeah, ultra. She was one of those. So this lady was in like great shape, and apparently she stayed alive by doing sit-ups. Her dog would go out in search of help, and eventually, after like 3 or 4 days, she was reported missing. And so they had started sending search and rescue out, and the dog came across the search and rescue people and took them to her, which was a really cool story. Now, of course, they have everyone flying up to Minnesota to shoot these interviews, but for that one, they're going to fly down to Moab because the dog is now pretty old and it can't fly. So it was pretty good.
That's where they filmed 147 hours. That's where that is. Did you see that movie?
I saw that movie. I saw that movie. I mean, that was. Could you do that? Could you saw off your arm? Could you cut it off?
I don't know.
I
Did
mean,
you guys read the book?
I had not read the book. No.
Yeah.
Was it good?
I didn't like it. The guy was really his attitude. I didn't what he portrayed, and now obviously the movie is different, but the book, I'm sitting there, and I consider myself an outdoorsman. I mean, my dad taught me how to do outdoor survival, and he had an attitude. It's all these flashbacks to what built up to that, and if you know it, he went out and he never told anybody.
That was mistake number one.
But I don't know. He seemed like he had a little bit of. I'm sure he's a really nice guy and he's very humble. I'm sure, but.
The movie kind of portrayed him as kind of being like, what's the right word? Oh, probably didn't have he wasn't very humble. Yeah, he was not a humble guy. So anyway, so then, here's I gotta tell this story. So growing up, I was a huge Minnesota Twins fan, and decided to go to a Twins game that night. Melissa and Avery came along with me. And the Twins were getting killed. Justin Verlander, Detroit Tigers, I mean, they were just shutting them down. So we decided to leave in the 7th inning, just to kind of beat the traffic out of the game. We had taken the train, and the Twins were down 6-0. We get back to the hotel, and I go, I want to see how bad did the Twins lose tonight. And I pull up the app, and they scored 7 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and basically had this huge comeback. And the announcers were like, "This is the greatest comeback in Target Field history," and we missed it because we just left. So it was kind of a lesson learned. Don't ever leave until the fat lady has sung. So we were only out there for about 24 hours, but the weather's great. I mean, it was watching baseball in Minnesota in the middle of July is a lot better than watching it in Oklahoma in the middle of July. It was like 80 degrees, 75, 80 degrees during the game. Whereas tomorrow we'll go live from the OKC Dodgers game downtown, and it's going to be about 95 first pitch. Pretty hot. So,
I look forward to seeing.
What's up?
Well, we're on a possible list to get a fairly short list to get an MLB team in Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna get the Mariners.
I was gonna say that. I was so gonna say that. I was so gonna say that. Bring the Seattle Mariners down here. Anything y'all want to add?
Oh, got to go back. That movie I was talking about, Capricorn 1. It wasn't the moon. It was NASA's mission to Mars didn't work, so they filmed it in the studio. And in order to keep all the astronauts quiet, they were killing them off. Anyways, I remember seeing it a long time ago. This movie, what year? 1978. And I don't know the actors. Elliot Gould. James Brolin is in it. Sam Waterston.
Okay. They were pretty well respected during the 70s. They're good actors. So, Jonathan's going to fill in for me tonight. You're going to see his face on TV in a couple hours. Brad, you guys want to add anything else?
I don't think so, man.
I need a haircut. I'm going to go get a haircut today. Jonathan, your haircut looks pretty good. I think you inspired me to actually go get one.
I think that was earlier. Was it this week or last week? I think last week.
See, to me, a haircut looks best a couple days after you get it.
Here's an insider. I used to go to a barber shop in OKC, and my barber, it's sad, he had a stroke, and so he's not cutting hair anymore. So I've been looking around, and so I found this old school barber shop where they actually shave. I mean, they have blades, you know, they'll shave you, and I'm not into that. Every time they want to like trim my hairline, I'm like, no blades. Anyway, so I usually go, and this guy that cuts my hair, he's in a band, and I'm like, he's pretty cool, and there's all, you know, the old timers around, and I'm getting my hair cut. So I go in this week, and I walk in, they know me, and they're like, Lincoln isn't here. He had to run home. I'm like, all right, I'll just take whoever. And this guy cuts my hair. I think his name is Kyle. He's an Elvis impersonator. So the dude's got like Elvis hair. You know, it was awesome. I'm getting my hair cut. Cool dude. And he did a really good job. I'm like, awesome. So if you're looking for a good haircut, May and about Wilshire, right there at the 7-Eleven. May, it's north. Yeah, May and Wilshire, just south of Britain. There's.
Did he leave some chops? How did he handle your sideburns? If you start coming in with some chops.
Yeah, they're pretty long. I had to trim myself. But anyways, if you're looking for an old school barber shop, west side of May, south of Homeland, north of the Hibben Tires there, right across the street from the 7-Eleven.
All right. And of course, Brad's got wonderful hair. Your hair's long.
So. Yeah, they forced me to go to. Apparently, never mind. I won't get into it.
All right. Well, good show today, guys. Nice chit chatting. Enjoy your rest of your afternoon.